Good evening, everyone. I call this meeting of Lennox and Addington County Council to order at 6:30 p.m. Can I get an adoption of the minutes of our meeting held the 19th? Councillor Wise, seconded by Deputy Warden Hagedorn. Any edits, errors, or omissions? None noted. Call the question. All those in favor? Motion is carried. We have an agenda before us. Can I get an approval of the agenda? Councillor Fritsch, seconded by Councillor Hogg. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof? Seeing none. The warden's report. Councillor Hogg. Motion to receive, seconded by Councillor Wise. Any comments on that? I have, Councillor Fritsch, please.
Yes, through you, Mr. Warden. I just want to comment on the April 10th event with the LA Chamber of Commerce Annual Business Excellence Awards. Certainly a number of members of council were there, and our warden was the keynote speaker. He did one incredible job, and it's really great to see that organization out there and all the great businesses we have, and certainly to those who won each individual award. Congratulations.
Thank you, Councillor Fritsch. You preempted me. I too was going to mention that. No, I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did. But on behalf of the county, I also accepted an award for customer service excellence. So congratulations, of course, to all county staff. And like Councillor Fritsch, it was a great event, and it was so good to see other county councillors there as well. And I also want to thank Councillor Wise for attending an event at the JMPC on my behalf. Unfortunately, I had another public health related meeting to be at, and so my thanks to Councillor Wise. With that, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Matters for consideration. Great Lakes and St. Lawrence Cities Initiative, and I'll turn first to the CAO.
Through you, Mr. Chair. I think the report is self-explanatory. I'm happy to answer any questions that council might have, and I'm also mindful of the fact that the warden might want to speak to it as well, since we both attended the EOWC meeting where the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Cities Initiative folks presented, and we were really quite impressed with their work. So I'm happy to answer any questions council might have.
I don't see any. I'd be looking then for a motion. Councillor Davison, adopt the recommendation. Seconded by Councillor Fritsch. Further comment? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Do you want to go ahead?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So now there's the second part. Thank you for your approval to join this group. Because we're a first-time member, the tuition fee to go to their conference in May is complimentary. There's no cost to it. It's in Milwaukee this year. The warden is interested in attending that conference since it is paid for or free for us. It would just be his travel cost, but to go outside the province, it requires an approval of council. So I'm not sure if council's willing to make that motion, but if you are, I'm sure the warden would entertain it.
Councillor Wise?
Yes, I will make that motion. It's a worthwhile organization. I just hope you don't get delayed at customs for some reason.
Can I get a seconder before I make comment? Councillor Calver, thank you. Yes, I have ensured that my social media is scrubbed of any criticisms of the incumbent U.S. president, so I should be okay. My thanks to the mover and seconder. Any further comment on that motion? And my appreciation for that. Call the question. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you, Council. Okay, item number 2, lower tier council event.
Through you, Mr. Chair. As council is aware, we had a good discussion during budget time about our desire to improve networking within the county. So that's with the county and the lower tiers, but also between lower tiers as well. And we talked about Warden's Banquet. We talked about a lot of different options, but The recommendation in front of you is to consider a county tour day. We're looking at September 24th. The desire would be to have lower tier councillors and CAOs come on a tour, and we want to take them to our services that we provide that are different than what lower tier services are. For example, the services that were mandated by the province to deliver and that they fund us to deliver and prescribe how we do enact them heavily. So that would be John and Parrott Center, social services, go to a housing building, provincial offenses. And I think you know yourselves when we did your council orientation 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, the value of seeing these things firsthand. So we're proposing the tour, as you see in the report, and a lunch together where there could be networking and discussion, and also proposing that we, for that day, move the council meeting to 1:30 on that day if possible, to make the most efficient use of your time. And then if any of the lower tier councillors wish to stay for the county council meeting, they certainly could if they chose to. So it's there for your consideration. The cost is $1,500.
I turn to Council. Nope, Councillor Fritsch.
Yes, through Mr. Warden. Yeah. I think that's a great idea, and yeah, it gives the lower tiers and members that are not here a great opportunity to meet each other. And yes, yeah, the tours of those facilities certainly support it. Thank you.
Anyone else? Councillor Wise? Or Councillor Davison? Councillor Wise moves? Did you move?
Oh, I thought Tony moved it.
Oh. I'll take it from you, Councillor Wise, if you move
Okay,
it.
I'll move it after Doug seconded.
Any further comment on this? Yep. Deputy Warden.
I just agree. I think it looks like a good educational day. It'll be great information, I think, for a lower tier that can make it. Because everybody works in their own little world, and we understand, we have a bit of a knowledge of it, but I think this will give a working knowledge of it so that there's a greater understanding, and I think that'll work very well for both levels. Thank you.
Anyone else? Just before I call the question, my thanks to colleagues for supporting this. Obviously, it's something that I've wanted to do, and I've appreciated the discussion we've had about the number of ways in which we can do it. I'm grateful. I think that it's a little later in the year. It gives me some time now to work on getting as many of our lower tier colleagues to attend as possible. So hopefully it'll be a great day. So with that, I will call the question. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Item number 3, County Council Tour. Madam CAO? Or are you going to be, Tracy?
Through you, Mr. Warden. This is the County Council tour for next month. It has been marked in your calendar as the location to be determined. So we are suggesting that the location be Amherst Island. We'll go through some of the services such as economic development, community paramedicine, those things that are done there, as well as a bit of a tour of the island. We had put on the schedule that everyone would meet the bus at the ferry dock at 2:15, but Councillor Davison suggested maybe we add an additional pickup here at the county courthouse so that we don't take as many vehicles down to the ferry dock. So anyone who wanted to get the bus here could do that, and then it'll drop back here at the end. But I'd be pleased to answer any questions council may have.
Questions for the clerk? Seeing none, I'd take a motion to note and receive. Councillor Hogg, seconded by Councillor Fritsch. Call the question. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Number 4, microservicing. Turn to Mr. Wagger.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Warden. Just like to highlight that during the tendering process, we added a section that wasn't presented to council for County Road 13 for microservicing. That was based on the conditions of the road because of the hard winter. So we want to preserve the road, keep our asset good. So we added that to get adequate pricing. So this report reads that we are going to spend a little bit more money above our budget. However, that said, yesterday in a review of County Road 9 that was presented a budget, we had just over $1 million from County Road 9 starting at County Road 8 and going out towards Abrams Road. We were going to do microsurfacing there. Again, with the winter, we've saw some additional stone loss and some edge breakup, so we're going to delay the works on there. We'll just do some padding. We'll have Town and Napanee perform some works to preserve the road, but we're not going to put the microsurface on. We'll let it degrade, and then we'll reconstruct in 4 to 5 years. That's the best bang for our buck, so we'll actually be saving money by essentially removing the one section of County Road 9 and adding the section of County Road 13. I'll be happy to answer any questions should council have any.
Thank you, Mr. Wager. Councillor Calver.
Yeah, through your worship. So Chris, does that mean you're not going to do the microsurface treatment on the Rankin's Corner area where the pavement's really slippery there?
No, sir, through you, Mr. Warden. That project, so County Road 9, the North Shore Road or River Road, whatever you want to call it, that project will be done. This was we were going to do the North Shore and the South Shore. The South Shore, so starting at Murray Jackson's farm and heading west towards Abrams. I don't think we're going to go quite that far, but we were definitely going past Fitchett. That section, it started to move a little bit more, and we don't want to put microsurfacing on a surface where it's moving because then it'll just re-crack. So because of the edge breakup and a little bit of poor granular that's there, we're just going to delay the rehabilitation. We'll pulverize that, reconstruct, and start the process over again so that we can then micro later on. But we just don't want to waste the money by not getting the value out of our product on that section as well.
Okay, no, I misread it there. I was thinking County Road 9 out to Abrams on the north side, so because I know we had talked about getting that corner done on Rankin's Corner because she's pretty slick there. So
yeah, that. Again, through you, Mr. Ward, that section is actually in good shape, and it's ideal, like the ideal candidate for micro because it is more of a loss of traction on that section, and there's limited cracking, so it's a perfect opportunity for microsurface.
excellent, thank you.
Further questions for Mr. Wager? Seeing none, I would receive a motion. Councillor Calver moves to adopt the recommendation, seconded by Deputy Warden Hagedorn. Call the question. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Number 5, Quality Improvement Plan. I'll turn to the Director of Long-Term Care.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Warden. So annually, all long-term care homes across the province have to submit a quality improvement plan. The quality improvement plan consists of a narrative, summary, a work plan, and then a progress report. So it's something that we are required to post on our website. We have to make public for anybody who requests a copy of it, and it needs to be presented to yourselves. So I have attached all 3 of the documents, and all 3 this year are on the website. I think out of the 5 indicators that we're focusing on, I would say the one that I'm most interested in keeping an eye on is around the avoidable ED visits, and that's largely because of the lack of nurse practitioner that we are now going to have. And so whether or not we can maintain our percentage, which is very, very low, where it's sitting at 9.8 and the provincial average is 21.7. So we're in a very good position, but I'm not really sure what's going to happen. And then the other one is around increasing awareness, increasing the percentage of residents with psychosis. And again, that's also going to be tied to the nurse practitioner and our ability to access that kind of response very quickly, as opposed to waiting for the physician to come in and access our other sources. So I'm happy to answer any other questions that you might have on that large document. Sorry.
Thank you, Ms. Malcolm. Questions from council? Councillor Wise.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. So, Angela, is this your main reporting document to the ministry, or is this more kind of for public consumption? How would you compare this to, you have so much reporting to do, where does this stand in the hierarchy of documentary reporting that you have to do with the ministry?
So this is in addition to. So this is from the RAI data that we submit, and the RAI data is put forward to the quality improvement program, and then from there they develop indicators that they would like long-term care to focus on. They also develop indicators that they would like the hospital sector to focus on, and so these reports are also required by the hospital, and each sector is fairly unique, and then we have the opportunity as an individual home to also target specific indicators that are meaningful to our home. But this is in addition.
Thank you.
Councillor Fritsch.
Yes, through Mr. Warden, I actually have a comment on the thing. Angela, I find the narrative extremely, I guess, informative to me when you read it. I just almost get a little overwhelmed by all the things you and your team are involved in to, I guess, look at improving or maintaining and improving the quality of care and services that's provided. Yeah, honestly, I don't know how you keep up to it, but I'm impressed. Thank you.
Other comments? I take a motion to note and receive. Deputy Warden, seconded by Councillor Hogg. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Back to Ms. Malcolm for item number 6, JMPC handrail replacement.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. So if you'll recall, in September of 2024, we received one-time funding, and that was specifically to target any home that has not already had sprinklers in place. Because we already had sprinklers in place, then we could use it to provide a variety of capital projects and support them. And so one of those projects was the replacement of our handrails. Our handrails are currently a wood surface, and so that I don't know if it's veneer, it's the shiny stuff that's on the top of it has worn off, and so that significantly impacts infection control. And then also, it's also not up to code anymore. So you can imagine, we have a lot of handrails. So this job is $199,000, and you can see that the number one contractor is Rutherford, and I can answer any questions that you like about that.
I saw some wincing from this end of council. Any questions for Ms. Malcolm? So the recommendation is to note and receive, award the contract to Rutherford Contracting in the amount of $199,000. Moved by Councillor Davison, seconded by Councillor Calver. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Number 7, childcare and early years funding. I'll turn to Ms. Chenier.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I don't have a lot to add to this report other than it's very good news that we have finally received infrastructure funding information for the expansion of childcare. We've been waiting for it for a long time, and it has been an identified barrier as to why centers have not been able to expand. So that is really good news that that is now available. On the downside, the province has done a space recalibration for the number of childcare expansion spaces under the CWELC funding. So we have received the memo that we are one of the 27 municipalities who are receiving less than the number of spaces than we were originally planned for. We're still looking for answers from the ministry in terms of what the actual impacts are, whether it's school-based, community-based, all of that kind of stuff. So we are still working on that, and we don't have any answers yet, so I'm not able to provide those to you. But we did want council to be aware of both the good news of the infrastructure fund as well as the recalibration outcome into the decrease in spaces for childcare expansion in Lennox and Addington and Prince Edward counties. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Chenier. Any questions with respect to this report? Councillor Wise.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Lynn, it's capital funding. It's almost, what is it, almost $2 million, 1.976. So what actual infrastructure is going to be built with that funding, or is that what it's directed towards? I wasn't quite clear on what's being built here.
So that funding is available for the expansion of either existing childcare centers or the creation of new childcare centers. It would be up to childcare operators to apply for this funding from us. That they would need to recognize that, yes, we want to expand, this is what it's going to cost, and apply for the funding. In addition to the capital startup grants that we have available as well. So it will be operator-led as to who can expand and take that on. So it is available for any of our operators if they wish to expand their childcares.
Okay, thank you. That clarifies it. So there will actually be an application and a funding evaluation should we have, if it's oversubscribed or whatever.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks very much.
Other questions for Ms. Chenier? Then I'd entertain a motion to note and receive. Councillor Wise, seconded by Councillor Richardson. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Advisory Committee recommendations and reports. Accessibility Advisory Committee.
Through you, Mr. Warden, I don't have anything to highlight, but I'd be pleased to answer any questions council may have.
Any questions? Yep, Councillor Calver.
Yeah, through your worship, the only thing I'd like to have is a better drawing of the bathrooms that we approved for the building here. That would be great, just to clarify things in my own mind.
Through you, Mr. Warden, certainly I can provide that to you.
Thank you.
No further comments? No further comments. Can I take a motion to note and receive that report? Councillor Fritsch, seconded by Councillor Hogg. All those in favor? Motion is carried. And then the JMPC compliance report. Ms. Malcolm.
Through you, Mr. Warden. Okay, so this is our new layout of the data that I'd like to share with you, and hopefully this is going to be meaningful for you, and if it's not, certainly I'm happy to entertain other perspectives and information. You'll see in the big blue square there where it's admissions and discharges. The admissions, what I wanted you to see was where the bulk of our current admissions are coming from. So you can see that out of all of the admissions that we've had since the beginning of January, 18 of them have come direct from hospital in an acute or rehab hospital. So, and many of those are in crises. And then you'll see also if they are coming from a private home with home care versus a private home independently, just as a point of interest. And then discharging, not unexpected, most of them pass away, and then you'll see where the rest are going to. A couple of things, our rates are higher for the first quarter in 2024. That is not uncommon in terms of the seasonal illness. That does have a significant impact on our older population, and they do struggle when they become ill with respiratory and enteric. And you will see later in this report that we had 7 enteric outbreaks already in the first quarter, so that's significant for our residents. We also wanted to highlight the fact that we are seeing a shifting demographic applying to long-term care. So these are people that are potentially currently incarcerated and coming out with no place to live, or they are homeless currently and have significant mental health and addiction issues, and they are also younger. So a lot of those things are become very complicated for us because they can't access seniors support. So because they're under 65, so there's supports they can't access. There's resources that we are not particularly familiar with. So this is a new kind of area in which we need to learn. And then you're bringing in a population that is living side by side communally with people that are 80, 90, 100 years old, and this younger population is more physically fit, but also mentally mentally having difficulties and not always the resources that we can certainly provide. And some of those resources fall off when they move into long-term care. So some of their community supports that they had, they no longer have once they become a part of the long-term care community. So it's just something that we're going to keep on our radar, because it definitely contributes to some significant challenges and some of the reasons why our residents end up in long-term care, and then we have to have them taken out of long-term care, taken to hospital, and then we are in a position of whether we can admit them back or not, and if that's a safe decision in which for us to do. I did mention about the staffing and that we still do not have any NP to fulfill that position. I did reach out to the NLOT team, which is who we utilized before having a nurse practitioner on site. And because we have tapped into the funding for the Hiring More Nurse Practitioners Fund, we cannot also tap into the NLOT team through that grant or through that ministry funding stream, despite the fact that we don't have one and she's on maternity leave. And we can't use an agency because we can't tap into that funding. And so your letter was super appreciated, and I have taken your letter and also forwarded it to Ontario Health at Home to try to get some awareness around that, because there are many nurse practitioners, I'm quite sure, that are going to experience being off with their children, and there needs to be some sort of decision put in place to help cover long-term care homes who do not have a nurse practitioner. The next portion is compliance findings. So we did have an inspection. They were in on March of this year, and they did find two things. One, we received a written notification regarding our documentation practices, and that's with the point of care documentation that the PSWs have to do, and they do that for every single thing that they do for a resident. So if they turn them, there's documentation. If they toilet them, there's documentation. If they dress them, so it's a lot of documentation per resident. And so there was three residents that over a 3-month period there were some blanks in that documentation. We have addressed this previously. We will no doubt continue to address this, and some of it is around staff doing bulk documentation at one time, and so it's honestly just a work in progress, and I'm sure that we will have to have lots of education around this. The other one is around a written notification on skin and wound care, and that was around, we're required, every registered staff is required to do a weekly skin assessment on a resident with a wound, and we missed, 2 residents had skin breakdown, and there was missed documentation for the weekly documentation for those individuals. And again, that has been addressed through education with those registered staff. Then we had the Ministry of Labour in. They came in on April 4th, 2025, as a result of a fall in the parking lot. And they were very, very, very impressed with all of the policies and procedures that we have in place to put salt out, and the heated pathways, and the ice melt system that we have in place, the contract that we have in place. So there was no recommendations, but they came in because there was an injury. So the quality indicators, again, this is a different format. This is a longer report, and it won't be next time, but I just wanted to lay out some background so that you would have an understanding of the indicators. So each indicator has been defined there for you, and we've also shared with you why that indicator is important, and then what it means for us as a home. So these are real-time at our home compared to the provincial average. So you can see with the antipsychotics with psychosis, we are improving. That will be one area where we want to keep an eye on with related to the nurse practitioner. The worsened mid-loss ADLs, which is their activities of daily living, so toileting, dressing, transferring, eating, that is improving. And this is partly a direct result of the 4 hours of care increase in funding that we did with the PSWs, so that we now have 2 staff on each floor 7 days a week who provide restorative care. So we should see this continue to decline, which is great. The residents who fell in the last 30 days is relatively, it's improving, and it's relatively on par with the provincial average, as are the next 2 indicators that you can see there. So hopefully the context that we provided in this in the graph helps you understand the purpose of the information that we're sharing. And then finally, the IPAC chart is there as it usually is, as well as the outbreaks, and I've talked to you about that. We won't be collecting the flu shot information because we don't give that out during the spring from April to September. And that would be all. Happy to answer any questions or take any feedback.
Questions for Ms. Malcolm on this very thorough report? Councillor Fritsch.
Yes. Through you, Mr. Warden. I'm always curious when I see charts like this, and you look at how is the provincial, I know it's how it would be established, but how does the province, and I guess, oversee the accuracy of reporting by homes in terms of, I'm not picking on any type of home in particular, but I certainly know that the Parrott Centre gets a lot of oversight, and from what you report, and does everyone get that kind of oversight, or is it, maybe you don't want to answer that question, but it makes me very curious here when we know the effort that goes into it, and I know you have staff shortages and all that, but still, when you're falling above the provincial average, or worse than what it should be, I become sort of confused here and try to figure out why.
So, I mean, so through you, Mr. Warden, it is certainly reliant on homes reporting, apples for apples. So a fall, so there are definitions around all of these things. There's definitions of what a fall is. So a fall is any decline in elevation, any. So even if I were to lean against the wall, that would be a decline in elevation, so that would be considered a fall. But do all homes report that? I don't think so. But anyways,
Thank
and
you.
then the same would be said for the worsening pain. It would be it's how you're capturing the data. I can tell you that if you were to go onto the website where you can see all the compliance reports, you can pull up any long-term care home, and you can quickly see that they haven't all been visited frequently. And so that's something that that's publicly available. You can easily see any home that you want to look up. You just type in the home, and all of our compliance reports are there in French and English, and yeah.
Thank you. When I have some spare time, I might scroll through that. Thank you.
I'm going to turn to the CAO, who would like to make a comment.
Through you, Mr. Chair. I just want to gently add on to what the director has said, to say that the home is absolutely diligent in reporting anything that might be required to be reported, absolutely diligent about it. We are.
Other questions for Ms. Malcolm? I'll just mention that, as was noted in the Warden's report, that I did meet with our Member of Provincial Parliament earlier this month, the CAO and myself. I did raise the issue of the NP and the funding for being able to provide temporary support for that. So he's well aware of that issue and doing what he can to advocate on our behalf. With that, I'd entertain a motion to note and receive the report. Councillor Wise, seconded by Councillor Fritsch. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Committee reports by members of council. Going once, twice. Moving on, County Department activity reports. Administrative services.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'm happy to answer any questions council might have.
Any questions on administrative services? We'll move swiftly to financial services.
Through you, Mr. Warden. The one thing I'd like to highlight is the tax bill insert for the 2025 county budget is included in the report. And if council so wishes, we'll get that prepared and distributed to the lower tier municipalities.
Thank you, Mr. Day. Any questions on financial services? Social services, Ms. Chenier.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I don't have anything to add to the report, but I'm happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Any questions on that? Mr. Councillor Richardson.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Warden. The question is going to be very simple, and I'll back it up with some information. Is that are we considering doing anything different than what we have in the past as far as the homeless situation? What's happening, at least in our municipality, is that we've got a newly minted parks bylaw in which is going to restrict folks from being in certain parts of the park. I fully expect the way legislation is coming out of the Queen's Park area on a daily basis that we may be seeing a promised parks and encampment bylaw or a piece of legislature coming out of Toronto in the not too distant future. We've got an illegal encampment, which I'm going to suggest is an illegal compound at this point, which is, to put it quite bluntly, even worse than it was in the fall. And there's folks that are being housed in that complex, being supported by funds coming from the province. We're doing our best to try and shut that down. And I suspect in the not too distant future, you're going to see some people being displaced. Where this leads me to is that we're going to see a bunch of people being moved around, whether it be our municipality, our neighboring municipalities, or other municipalities. So my question, I guess, is right from the start, are we considering doing anything different, or do we feel that we have a handle on the situation that I suspect is going to get far worse than it was last summer?
Thank you for the question. Through the warden, at this point in time, we are not expecting to do anything differently. So we have a finite number of funds that are available to assist with this issue. We are working with any person who is homeless or precariously housed who is willing to work with us. We can't force someone to work with us to try and find their accommodations, but we are working with those that we know and have reached out to us and are looking for assistance. So that's the best that we can do on that score. And we have been working with people for quite some time. Sometimes they're not ready for permanent accommodation or changing their situation, but we are continuing to offer those services to them whenever we encounter them. And so are our community partners who are working and meeting with the in-house population quite regularly. So in terms of encampments and compounds and things like that, really, we aren't able to do any enforcement, as I've mentioned in the past. And also we are obligated that we do have to issue shelter funds from Ontario Works Assistance for those that are eligible for assistance, whether their home is legal or not legal.
Yeah, thank you, and through you, Mr. Warden, and I can appreciate that. And I suspect in the not-too-distant future, we'll be reaching out to our friends in Toronto to try and establish how one hand is taking away and the other hand is putting in. We seem to be on a hamster wheel going around and around and around, and some of our municipalities are not gaining by it. So I suspect that's probably the direction that we will head into. I mean, we have to keep in mind as well is that we do have a warming center in Napanee. It is closing its doors because the weather is now better. So I anticipate with all these things coming together is going to create a perfect storm, and we're going to start seeing things even at a more grave level than we saw last summer. So, and because some of these folks aren't going to be able to stay where they are or where they had been in the past, we might start seeing them show up in other places that we may or may not want them to be. So in any event, I appreciate the answer, and I know that it's a work in progress, and I know that there is no easy answer to this. But we do have to remain diligent to and try and keep our community as safe as we can. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Richardson. Other comments or questions on social services activity report? Seeing none, we'll move on to community and development services. Mr. Paul.
Okay, thank you. Just a couple items to highlight. The museum was successful in a grant that they submitted back at the end of the 2024 for $48,000, and that's going to help support a collection management fund and some of the inventory work we need to do at the museum. It was part of our budget, our operating budget, and so we're pleased to be able to put that in the line for revenue from our federal government partners. And then lastly, on the economic development side, we've really kicked off our Buy Canadian, Buy Local campaigns. They started last week, and you'll see in the package is an example of a pennant or banner that we're actually distributing to local businesses. With it, naturally, it's a Canadian thing. They came in yesterday, and we've been out today distributing those, so that'll help create some awareness, help the local businesses, and then tie that into an overall digital marketing campaign as well. So thank you. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Paul. Any questions? Seeing none, long-term care. Back to you, Ms. Malcolm.
I don't have anything to report, or to add, sorry.
Nothing further to add. Any questions on the long-term care activity report? Seeing none, we'll turn to emergency services, which will be the CAO this evening.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Unfortunately, Chief Jones is not able to be with us tonight, but I'm happy to try to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions from council? Councillor Wise.
I have an extremely complex technical question about emergency services.
Thank you so much.
I don't at all. I'm just happy to see the, oh goodness, the name escapes me, the establishment of the community paramedicine
Yes.
at the Lennox building. I think that forming that hub there in a physical sense is really important, and I'm looking forward to seeing how well that works.
Yes, I just want to acknowledge and thank the hospital for providing the space and the province for providing the money so that we could renovate the space. That's great. And I think we're one of the first, I'm not aware of any others in the province that has embedded their CP directly into where primary care is. So we're really, I think maybe that's why the province chose to fund it, because it's almost like a pilot. Let's see how this works out. We're really interested to see the difference that it can make by conjoining the two.
I was actually there with the clerk earlier this afternoon, and it's looking really, really good. They've only had a soft opening now, but they'll do an official opening. But yeah, it's looking really good. Further questions for emergency services? Really hard-hitting technical questions? Politically charged ones, Mr. Fritsch? No? Seeing none, we will move on then to human resources.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I don't have anything to add or highlight in the report.
Any questions for Ms. McGarvey? Seeing none, we'll turn to Mr. Wager.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Through you, I'd like to congratulate Troy Feeney to the Property Services Department, and also like to congratulate Aiden Taylor to the GIS team. He's been working with us as a student and casual basis since September. One thing I would like to add is GIS staff created a public survey for the community engagement input in Newburgh and for the County Road 11 and 17 reconstruction project. They also did one for the Odessa reconstruction, which is County Road 2 through Odessa. And with engagement, because people aren't showing up to PICs and we're not getting public input, we have to look at new opportunities to reach out to the public, get their input. Those services, we have used them in the past. We did do one for our transportation master plan. We were short-staffed with GIS, but through council's approval, we did hire a couple staff over the last couple of years, Aiden being one of them. The last several months, Aiden being one of them. That service is about $10,000 for every survey you do, and we were anticipating on doing 4 or 5 projects with it this year. In-house, they developed it, so we're now doing that in-house, so those costs aren't into the operation or capital plan. So that's a kudos to our GIS team and the continued work that they do supporting our community.
Thank you, Mr. Wager. Any questions for Mr. Wager? Seeing none, can I get a motion to adopt all the activity reports as presented? Councillor Calver, seconded by Councillor Hogg. Any further discussion? Call the question. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Resolutions, provincial land transfer tax and GST. What are council's wishes with this from the town of West Lincoln? Deputy Warden.
Receive and support.
I have a motion to receive and support, seconded by Councillor Hogg. Discussion. Call the question. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Number 2, supporting municipal response to tariffs from Bruce County. What are council's wishes? Councillor Fritsch.
Make a motion to receive and support.
Motion is to receive and support, seconded by Councillor Calver. Discussion. Call the question. All those in favor? Motion is carried. U.S. tariffs on Canadian goods, County of Lanark. Councillor Wise.
Yeah, receive and support.
Receive and support, seconded by Councillor Davison. Discussion. Call the question. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Matters for information, Ontario Power Generation. Councillor Wise.
Move receipt.
Move to receive, seconded by Councillor Hagedorn, our Deputy Warden Hagedorn. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Now we're into other business. Statements by members. Are there any statements by members this evening? Any notices of motion? Any matters of urgency? Then pursuant to Section 239(2) of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended, this part of the meeting will be closed to the public in order to adopt closed session minutes and to appoint members of the public to the Agricultural Lands Advisory Committee. Can I get a motion to go into closed? Councillor Davison, seconded by Councillor Calver. All those in favor? Motion is carried. We are in closed, and I'll give some Okay, County Council has just returned from closed. During closed session, I can report that County Council approved minutes from the March 19th, 2025 closed session meeting, and also appointed members of the public to the Agricultural Lands Advisory Committee. And so on that basis, I would look for a motion now in open that staff proceed as directed in closed session and notify the members of the public appointed to the Agricultural Lands Advisory Committee. Can I get a mover for that? Councillor Calver, seconded by Deputy Warden. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Confirmation of proceedings, 3 readings. Councillor Hogg, seconded by Councillor Wise. Call the question. All those in favor? And finally, a motion to adjourn for this evening. Councillor Calver, seconded by Councillor Wise. All those in favor? Motion is carried. We are adjourned at 7:29.